welcome to another episode of Jim's Got My Garden. Okay, so now it's time to sow a few seeds. The first one I'm going to put in are beetroot. Now these are the type that I'm growing. These come from Wilco's. They're just called Beetroot, Detroit 2. I don't know if you can see that. And these are 50p, so sort of quite cheap for what they are already. Now, I know these are late, but as you can see on the back, you know, you can sow outdoors. Right up into July. Now what I'm going to do is grow these in these cells here inside the greenhouse and give them a real good start, and then I'm going to be planting these out in a couple of weeks in the bottom tunnel, the one that's got all the kale that's run to seed and the spinach that's run to seed. So all that's going to be emptied, dug all out, so it'll be ready just in time to put in for these. So all I'm going to do is plant these in these little modules, and then I'm going to plant the modules out in a row. Now, it's easy enough. All you need to do is just fill these modules with compost. This is the clover compost, which I always use, which is ideal for vegetable growing. And I've actually seen, talking of clover compost, I've actually seen quite a few places recently that are selling it. Now, I'd say a couple of years ago, you were lucky to see clover compost for sale. But I've found 3 places recently that have just started to sell it, so we've got a little bit too much in there. Now with beetroot, if I just show you the beetroot seed, I can get in the packet. Right, beetroot seed. Looks like little pieces of sort of cork, if you can see that. So it's actually part of the chard family, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But all I'm going to do is, I'll put the compost in these just like that, so it's level at the top. Now what you need to do is go along with your finger and make an indentation in each one, so that the seed ends up around. Probably about a centimetre or so deep. These 2 seem to be too hard. I pushed it in there a bit too hard. Like that. So this will do 2 things. One, it makes a hole to put your seed in. The second, it makes sure that the seed's actually in the middle of the cell that you're planting it into. So they'll actually stay in the middle. So what I'm going to do is put two of these seeds in each one of the cells. Well, there's no reason to think that you couldn't just plant these straight out. You can thin them out, or you just let them fight it out themselves, and the strongest one will win. You don't really need to worry about beetroot too much, to be honest. So just put 2 cells in each one. Now, obviously, I could have sowed this earlier, but because I knew I was saving the seed off that kale, I didn't dig out the tunnel, or I haven't done yet. That's something I'm going to do in the next week or so. And so I've left it to sow these, because what I didn't want them to do is to get pot bound, because that's the plants are going to get stressed out if you do that. And the good thing about beetroot is, really, it's kind of a, I don't know, for me, I always think of beetroot as being a winter vegetable, and so I always tend to harvest beetroot towards the end of the year anyway, and these are going to soon catch up and you know, in the remainder of the season. So it isn't too late to plant beetroot or swede, which is the next thing I'm going to plant. There's more than enough time for them to grow. So as soon as you've got it in, actually got 3 in that one. So as soon as you've got them all planted, I don't know if you can see them in the little holes. All you need to do then is just get a little bit of compost in your hand and then just sprinkle it over the top. What that'll do is it'll fill the hole, and then the seed ends up being something in the region of a centimetre down. That's how I always tend to plant the seed, and then it'll grow quite nicely like that. So if you just sprinkle over the top there, what you can do is, obviously this compost is quite dry, but if it was a little bit drier, it would be a bit easier. Water them with tap water to start with. At this time of year you really don't need any protection of glass or anything over these. These will germinate quite nicely in the temperatures that we've got at the moment. And that's all you really need to do. Put a label in that so you know that it's beetroot, and then in about 2 weeks time these will be all up and ready just in time for the ground to plant out, and that will give me a good row or 2 of beetroot for the garden. So I haven't given you a tour of the plot for a couple of days, so I thought I'd just quickly show you around. So this is the greenhouse. I still haven't got around to putting the tomatoes in this side yet, but these are growing quite nicely. I have started to prick them out and take off the side shoots. I've just spotted one here. So any side shoots like that, what you basically want to do is just pull them off and just have, obviously leave the flowering or the fruit trusses on, and then these will need to be tied up before too much longer. The grapes are doing really well, if you can see those, but what I'm going to have to do is go through and thin these out. So I've got about probably about 6 or 7 bunches of grapes on, and then I'll have to take the rest off, otherwise they just won't fill out and sort of come to anything. So in the greenhouse now, obviously we've got the peppers along the back. I've still got some cucumbers to plant out. The cayenne peppers doing really well, as you can see, still flowering at the top. There's more fruits coming, and these are the jalapenos at the top here. Obviously we've got some in the pots here as well. These are the Alicante tomatoes, which are going to go in here, which they should have gone in by now, but just haven't got around to doing it yet. Time is of the essence, I know. Those are the safflower plants, which need to go outside now. Then this is the basil, which I've pricked out so far. I've got to prick out the last couple of boxes, but that's the what's the basil look like. And then at the back here we've got the cucumber plants. I don't know what that is there actually. Just noticed there's something odd. We've got the roots. Oh yeah, those are the roots. I don't know if you can see. That's quite odd. I've not seen that before, but the roots are coming out and spreading all through the pot. So cucumbers are doing well. Obviously that one at the back here is grown. Since I put it in there, it's probably grown about 4 inches, and I've got a cucumber forming there. I don't know if you can see that. There's a flower on. So that's the greenhouse. That's pretty much all to say about that. Now over here, this is the comfrey. And the dry period that we had, it's really sort of flopped over. So what I need to do now is chop all that back and get that in the box to make some comfrey tea for the tomatoes. Mint and the lemon balm is doing really well. Mint is doing well here as well. Those are some sunflowers that are going spare. I need to put a few in around the what's name. Rosemary's doing well. The oregano, I've got this little bit here that's growing, which isn't doing too badly, and this here has started to pick up, but it's not as good as it has been in the past. Here we've got some plants ready to go out. Those are the thyme plants I've not yet planted out, and those are the calendulas. I need to put some slug pellets on them actually. Looks like the slugs are a bit at it. Couple of butternut squashes there that are destined to go in another plot, but the chap hasn't come to collect them yet. This is the other comfrey plant, and as you can see, the bees are absolutely loving it. This is every day you walk past this and it's literally buzzing. There's anything up to sort of 20 or 30 bees going around this, when they are literally everywhere, as you can see. But the comfrey's done well for that. Now, one point I did want to make actually is the relationship between bees and most certainly fruiting plants in the garden is really critical, and that's why I've got the comfrey, which I know is going to attract bees, next to things like the strawberries and the raspberries and the fruit trees and stuff, because that's, you most certainly need the bees to pollinate the flowers. Now, if you take this is actually a pear tree here. You can see the pears on there, but the same logic applies to pears and apples. Now, apple trees, when the blossoms come out, you've literally got a 16-hour window, which is basically nothing. It's less than a day. You've got a day window for a bee to come and pollinate the flower once it's opened. So it's really important that you encourage bees into the garden. So a lot of people have asked me in the past, about different plants to encourage bees into your allotments and stuff, and it is really important. Comfrey is most certainly one of those plants. Comfrey is good for a lot of different things. Obviously, it's good for making fertiliser for your tomatoes, because the tapping roots go right down into the ground and pull out all the nutrients. So it's really good for making tea for watering your tomatoes with fertiliser. But it's also very good as a bee attracting plant, if you like. It's also got quite a few medicinal purposes as well. People with, if you suffer with tennis elbow, if you make a poultice out of comfrey and put that hot on your tennis elbow, it does actually cure that problem as well. But anyway, that's comfrey for you. So that's why I've got the comfrey by up this end of the garden. The asparagus, as you've seen before, is doing really well. It's got these little sort of flower buds on there. I don't know if you can see these sort of little flower buds here. So they'll open out into little flowers, and then they'll form the berries. So that's going really well. Strawberry, we've had quite a few strawberries, as you can see. I don't know if you can see that strawberry there. I haven't actually got the nets over at the moment, but there's plenty of strawberries, and the birds seem to be leaving them alone at the moment. So I'm just picking them up when I come up in the evening. I'm just picking the odd strawberry to take down to the house, and as you can see, that's where that's the birdhouse garden. I've got sunflowers. You can see them from this side. When I showed you before, it's from the other side. So these sunflowers are going to grow up this kind of framework, and then we've got the ivy gourd there, another ivy gourd over there, and then obviously we've got sunflowers dotted between, and another birdhouse gourd at the end. So those are the gourds amongst the espalier trees. Onto the potatoes. It's a bit of a mixed bag with the potatoes actually. We've had a bit of a funny year. These two rows here are the Maris Piper, and I don't know if you can see, but there's actually missing spaces. That's actually a thistle, that's a weed. There's actually missing potatoes altogether. So what I'm actually thinking of doing, I've not done this before, is actually digging a hole and putting another seed potato in. To that position, because it seems a shame that that I've got no potato in that position. Some of them have been quite early, some have been quite late. Now these purple majestic potatoes, they all come up pretty much at the same time, and they've grown really well. But other potatoes, these are the kestrel. As you can see, this plant's really big. This one is literally just starting to come through the ground. So I don't know, it's been really funny with potatoes this year. Some have grown really well, others have really struggled. So I'm thinking of going back and putting some more seed potatoes in if there is a genuine space. I'm thinking of putting back. But on the other hand, I've actually been digging out along here. I've been digging weeds out, believe it or not. I've been digging weeds out here, and there's a few potatoes along there. And one of the potatoes I dug out was literally a potato peeling that had been dug into the ground. So I've got a plant there growing from a peeling. And yet here where I've put a perfectly good bought seed potato, and it's just not growing. So I don't know, I've not known this before. But anyway, those are the potatoes. As I say, a bit of a mixed bag. Some are doing quite well, others are doing, here again, look, we've got spaces. They're just starting to come through. So I've got one that's come through on the side there, and that one there is just only started to come through, like this one here. But this rain that we've had, we had a massive downpour of rain last night, and that seems to have brought them on quite well. But again, I need to get through that and weed it. These are the onions. Again, I need to weed the onions. I have started at that end, and if you can see, but I've weeded all that bit out. I need to go through here and pull these out before they get too big. But the weeds have been just going absolutely mental over the past couple of weeks. Those are the parsnips. As you can see, they're doing really well. As I did a clip in the video last week, so they've sort of come on really well, and they're really starting to grow now. As you can see, these are the ones that are planted. This one here, this one, and this one, and the others that were grown in the ground are really starting to catch up with them now. So that's the parsnips. Onions aren't doing too badly at all for this time of year, but I do need to get in there and weed them when I get 5 minutes. Sunflowers, sorry, not sunflowers. The what they call sweet peas are growing really well. They're growing up quite a lot. So they're growing about 4 or 5 inches a day at the minute, or at least they have done over the past couple of days. Right, you pair, come in here. Where's Dorothy? Dorothy! Right, so I have had a question about the dogs actually. This is Billy, this one here, and then that's Dorothy. Dorothy's the one I've always got in my arms. In you go. Billy, shh, come on, in here. Come on. And these are my 2 little friends. These are 2 of 3 dogs I've got. I've got a border collie as well, but she rarely comes up. Right, this is the tunnel. So at the end here we've got the flower sprouting, or flower sprouts. I have had a bit of slug damage. I don't know if you can see over there. There's a leaf damage there. So I did put some slug pellets down last week, but the rain's dissolved them away. Spinach is doing really well. This is this pale green here. This is the spinach beet, which I always grow because it doesn't bolt basically. I've tried to grow normal spinach a few times, and I find that it bolts far too easily. Whereas if I grow spinach beet, which is actually like a chard, it's a lot more sort of resistant against bolting, as in going to seed. So this tends to sit my ground a lot better. So that's growing really well. In fact, I should be able to crop some of this very shortly. This is the calabrese, or the green broccoli, this kind of block here. And you can see now why I've planted them this close together, because these do tend to flop over if you're not careful. And this is a trick that I learnt off a farmer. If you plant them this close together, you've got more than enough nutrients in the ground and everything, but because they're next to each other, they will actually support each other in the ground. And they grow really well like this. So I always plant mine about sort of 14 inches apart in blocks like this. And then if you plant them in rows this way and also this way, they tend to support themselves quite well. But as you can see, the florets are forming quite nicely in the middle there. This one's a bit more advanced. So they're growing really well. Again, I need to put some more seed in for those. I've been busy doing other things just recently, but they're going to be cropping in the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks. On this side here we've got, at the back we've got the Petrage kale. Again, we've got a bit of slug damage on that leaf there, but the rest of them don't seem to be too affected. And this is the Scottish kale at the front. Again, we've got a little bit of slug damage on there, but nothing too bad. So I do need to come up here with some slug pellets again. And then I don't know if you can see here, these 2 rows here, these are the spinach that I put in last week. So that's the first tunnel, so we've got quite a bit going on in there. Come on, you put. Right, just round the corner here we've got the gourds. So we've got the courgettes here, and as you can see they're in flower now. So you can see that's a male flower because it's got a long thin shoot coming up to it. And then those are the female flowers there with the little courgettes behind them. Not quite big enough to pick yet, obviously, but and this is the other 3 courgettes. So we've got 6 courgette plants, and then here we've got the pumpkins. This one's doing something a bit odd. I've not seen a pumpkin look like this before, but it seems to have, I don't know what it's done, but it's I've not seen a pumpkin like that before. It's got lots of little leaves, and it seems to be sort of bunching up in the middle, so I'm not quite sure if it's got something genetically wrong with it. But anyway, so this pumpkin's alright. The ones that were in these 2 positions actually died, they damped off because of this strange weather we're having. So I've actually planted in 2 more pumpkins. These 2 pumpkins are actually two that Tina and Jason give me from Allotment Upcycling. So I've planted those in those two positions. The rest of them are the giant ones out of a packet. That one's doing all right. These are the butternut squashes at the end here, and then we've got another couple of pumpkins here, which are doing okay. This one here, I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. If you've got any ideas, do put a comment. But I don't know if you can see, but it seems to be like, I don't know, it just seems to be like a massive little shoot. Seems to have got itself a bit confused. But anyway, rhubarb's still doing alright. Now this rhubarb is now going to kind of die back a bit. And I have picked quite a lot off here, so there's only these bits here actually that I've not picked at, which is why these are the big leaves. So I'll probably pick those in the next couple of weeks, and that'll be the end of it. But these will die off, and then come sort of the end of August, September time, it'll grow again, and I'll get probably not the same crop, but there'll be a lot more rhubarb, but it won't be quite as strong as it has been. Right, this tunnel here, really, everything's gone to seed. Now this is the next project on the allotment, to clear all this out. And what I've done is I've actually left this, if I can open the door, I've actually left this all to run to seed. Now I don't know if you can see, this is the Scottish kale, and these little seed pods here are absolutely rammed full of Scottish kale seeds. So I've got lots and lots of them, as you can see, all the way down. But what I'll be doing is collecting these seed pods for planting next year. So that's all the Scottish kale basically, and then this side here, this is all the spinach, which is now run to seed. So all of this can come out now. The chickens are going to have this. This is fantastic food for the chickens. So all I'll be doing is taking this out, probably in 3 lots, and giving that to the chickens, because they really enjoy the spinach beet, and they can also have what's left of the kale as soon as I've had the seeds off. But I'd imagine most of that will just go straight into the composting bin. So that's the second tunnel. So there's not a lot of excitement in there at the moment, apart from the fact there's loads of seeds. Right, and now down here we've got the front, and what I've done is I've planted sunflowers every kind of 14 inches or so. Some are doing better than others. That one there seems to have failed altogether, so that's where the spares are going to go up the top. But there should be a sunflower pretty much every 14 inches or so running along, as you can see these here. So all of these are done okay, and I've got 3 at the end there. And then underneath them is the calendulas, the orange flowers, which are self-setting. Now I have got, as you've seen at the top earlier, some more calendulas, which are the sort of paler, not the bright orange colour like this. There's just one coming out here, so that's the standard colour there. The ones I've got at the top are like a paler sort of crab, sort of peachy type colour. So what I'm going to do is intersperse some of those along here as well. Now this is the biggest change here. This is the beans. The beans have really reacted really well to this weather that we've had, this rain. As you can see, the beans are up to almost about 4 foot from the ground now. So they've shot up from the ground and twisted all the way around the posts. So they've done really well. Some of the posts seemingly don't have anything growing up them at the moment. So what I'll need to do is come down like that one there, should be twisting up this post. Unfortunately, it's twisted itself around this post here. Which one is it? Oh, it's bound to be the one on the inside. So what you need to do is unwind it and then twist it up the right post. Unfortunately, you get this, but this is all happened in the last couple of days. Come on, Bubba. Right, sorry, I didn't mention before. That's the what is it? The maschera. So that, as you can see, that's grown up the post quite well as well. So that's filled out at the bottom, and it's also grown up probably about 3 foot up the post. That's the sort of the starchy, carrot-shaped type vegetable that's under the ground. It's actually part of the nasturtium family, if you've not heard of that before. But and then the second lot of beans here are doing just as well. These are the runner beans as well. What I've done in the middle is I've piled up a load of grass cuttings off the lawn. When you do that, make sure that it's off a lawn that's not seeded, because what you don't want to do is put seeds into your ground. And the grass will do 3 things. 1, it'll warm the ground up, which will make the beans grow even faster. 2, it'll hold the moisture in the ground, which will make the beans grow even faster because the ground won't dry off. And thirdly, it'll feed the ground with nitrogen, and actually this fourth thing, it'll stop the weeds from growing. It actually mulches the ground and stops the weeds growing. So I always pile up the grass in the middle. The only problem that you get is rabbits and birds tend to get it there and scratch about, but if you do it sort of later in the year like now, they're not nest building any longer, so the birds aren't sort of likely to do it unless they're hunting for sort of worms and stuff. That's the other side of the parsnip, 2 rows. This is the other side of the onions. Now I've already weeded these already. I'm just sort of starting on this bit here, just working my way along. But the weed is absolutely incredible. I'll say it every year, I've never seen weeds like this before, but this year we have got a lot of weeds in the ground, and they seem to be growing really quickly because of the weather conditions that we've got. But anyway, that's the other side of the onions. Obviously potatoes again, and you can see here, so we've got a really good well-grown potato here, and then we seem to have 1 or 2 missing here, and then we've got one that's literally just started to come out there, and then this one's not doing particularly well there either. So they are coming, but they're just really late. Like this one here, we've got a bit of bindweed, but this is one potato. There's the second potato, literally just come through the ground, and then the third one's about 18 inches high. So I'm sure they will come if I leave them. Like this one here, I've got one there. These seem to be missing, and then there seems to be another one missing there. So and these are bought seed. So the last 4 rows here are seed that I saved, and then this row here, this row and this row are the these 4 rows are bought kestrel, and then this row here is half bought kestrel, half purple majestic, and then these 2 rows here are bought Maris Piper, and the Maris Piper hasn't done well at all. So I'm going to be going back and hopefully they're going to come through, but I'm going to go through, and if there's literally no signs, I'm going to take a bit of the soil away. If there's literally no signs of them coming through, I'm going to put I've got some more kestrel seed potatoes which I'm going to put in. But that's the Dorothy's chasing a bird in that cage there, as you can see. You're not going to get at it, Dorothy. Come here. Right, that's the other side of the strawberries, fruit trees that you've seen already. The apple tree's done really well this year. It's got loads of apples on it. I don't know if they're all going to go all the way through the season, but there's got to be 30, 40 apples on it this year. Last year there was 2, so it's definitely doing well. And the jostaberries, I didn't really show you these, but if you can see, it's absolutely laden with jostaberries. Now what I need to do in the not too distant future is put a net over this, because the birds will most certainly have these and the cherries. Now I've got some cherries forming. As you can see here, look, there's one. There's some under there, and some of them are actually starting to go red. Looks like the birds already had a go at that one. But the birds go straight in for anything that's red. A bird will see to mile off, and straight in there. The raspberries, as you can see here, they're just starting to come now. Some more on the other side. But the raspberries haven't done brilliantly. What I do need to do, to be honest, is dig the raspberries out and put some more manure and that in the ground and clean the ground up. I have got bindweed, as I've said, in this section here, so what I could do with doing is taking this path up and this path up all together, digging all of this out and getting it all nice and clean, and then putting the raspberries back in. Right, there's always plenty to do. These are the climbing beans, and as you can see, these are also doing really well. They've grown a good 3 or 4 inches since they've been in. Some seem to be doing better than others, but as you can see, they've climbed up they sent the runners up and they climbed up the post here as well. Dorothy, come out. These are the asparagus peas, and I've watered them every other night, and they seem to be happier since they've been in the ground. At this time of night they do close, so that's why they don't look open at the moment, but the leaves kind of open and close, but they've not grown that much, but they seem to be happier where they are now. This is the Allotment that I put in, you saw that in the last video, and then there's the yacon that you also saw me put in the last video. So this bit here is going to be probably tomatoes, and the asparagus is going to go, the young asparagus is going to go in here. I'm going to put a few tomato plants in here to you know, to have some outside tomatoes. So that's what the plot looks like. Today's the 3rd of June. So that's what we look like on the 3rd of June. So, I hope this episode was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you've got below, and I'll always get back to you, and I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Allotment Garden.